Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 5th episode in our intro to Java game programming. And today, we are going to be talking about methods. Now, from our last program, we don't need to get rid of this, but what exactly are methods? I've heard methods referred to as sub-programs or little programs in the code, but what a method mainly gives us is reusable code that is code we can reuse multiple times. Okay? So here we need our system.out.println because we're going to be printing out something. But we're actually going to print this out in a method. So in order to create a method, we're going to go outside of our public static void main. And we're going to create our method. So I'm going to say public void say hello. And after say hello, I'm going to put parentheses and then open bracket and close bracket. So, in our say hello method, I'm going to take our system.out.println and I'm going to shove it in there and I'm going to print out hello. Okay, so let's talk about what we just wrote. So we have public. Now there is public and there is private. Those are the main modifiers for your methods. Public can be accessed outside of the class. Private can only be accessed inside of the class. When we get into using multiple classes, this becomes very useful. I'm going to leave it actually as private for right now because, well, we're not going to have any other class accessing it, so we want it to be private. Now we're going to say void. A void is nothing. So here we would put a return statement. Now there are two types of methods. There's a method and there is a function. A function returns something. So if I use the say hello, it'll return something to me. I don't want it to return anything. I just want it to print out hello world, to print out hello, right? And so when this method gets called, it'll run the code in between the brackets. So I need to call this. So in order to call this, in my public static void main, I'm going to type say hello and I'm going to give it parentheses. Now, we do come into a problem here that is annoying with the public static void main. Now, this is static. And what static is there's only one in memory, so it does not make copies. And the static modifier also makes it so that this method can be referenced through the class name. And you don't have to have an object of a class. When we get into classes, we will have objects of classes, and with a static method, you do not require an object. But because this is static, it can only reference static methods. This is not a static method. So, in order to make this code work, we're going to have to make it private static void. Now, by making this static, this will be able to recognize that it exists and be able to execute. So now, if we click run, it prints out hello. So, what is the code doing? When we start the game, remember, public static void main is the beginning of our entire program. So it goes here, and it executes the first line of code. The first line of code is a method call to say hello, to the say hello method. So it'll go here, and then it's going to jump on down to our say hello method. And then it executes the lines of code in between the braces, which is our system.out.println hello. And then when it reaches the end, it jumps back to say hello, and then it goes back down a line, and it sees there is no more code to execute, and then it closes. When there is no more code left to execute, the program will end. Okay, so I can use this say hello method as many times as I want. I just have to type it out. Say hello, say hello. Right? And I run it, and it says hello 4 times. Because I call the method 4 times. Right? So, now we want to make a function. So we have a variable here. Now we want a function. And I'm going to make a little calculator function. So I'm going to get rid of this. Get rid of that real quick. And I'm going to say private int add numbers. Alright? So this method is going to add 2 numbers together. Now, in order for this to do what I wish for it to do, in our parentheses, we are going to require some parameters. So in order to use the add numbers, we are going to pass in a int number 1 and an int number 2, with those 2 variables being divided by a comma. Okay? So we're going to take in number 1 and number 2, and we are going to return number 1 plus number 2. Okay? And there we go. Now we have a function. We are returning an integer instead of void, which returns nothing. Okay? Now I'm going to go back to my main method. Oh wait, don't forget to make this static so that our public static void main can reference it. So we're going to say system.out.println, and inside our parentheses, we're going to say add numbers, and we're going to add 5 and 10. Okay? So we're going to print out add numbers 5 and 10. So we're going to run this method, and we get 15. So we run a program, and we have 15 as our output. Let's go through what's happening. Okay? So we get to the system.out.println. Remember, it starts here at the public static void main, and now it executes this line of code. Right? Now, it sees there's a method inside of our system.out.println, so it executes that first, and it adds our number 5 and 10. So this jumps down into our add numbers, and int number 1 is equal to 5, and our int number 2 is equal to 10. Now, it adds the 2 together, and then it sends it back, it returns it back here, and replaces this with our number, number 1 plus number 2, and then it prints it out. So it'll print out our number 1 plus our number 2, giving us 15. Does that make sense? So now we can make multiples. So say add numbers, big number, another big number. And we run it. Yep. And we run it, and we get our output, the addition of them. So you can see this is reusable code. Now, typically we'll have more lines of code in this, but you see the usefulness of it already. We don't have to write out number 1 plus number 2. We can just pass in some numbers, and we get the result of it. Simple enough, right? I think that's going to do it for now with methods and functions. Hope you guys enjoyed. Comment, rate, subscribe, and thanks for watching.